This is Patrick McCarthy reporting with Tri-Cities Community Television in the beautiful Lee Square in downtown Port Coquitlam. Part of our studio series is to give the opportunity for councillors in the Tri-Cities to come into our studios to give us some insight into what's happening in their lives and our lives in the municipal basis. Today we have Councillor Laura Dupont from the city of Port Coquitlam. I want to welcome Laura, or can I call you Laura?
Yes, you can.
Welcome to the studio. And, and just so that we can get to that part, just can you give us a little bit of update about your first almost 2 years through your first term, and how things going?
Well, it's going very well. I have to say I'm very grateful to the community for having the opportunity to serve on council. So thanks for placing your faith in me and letting me get here. And it's been really interesting. The first 2 years has been a blur. I've never had time go by so fast in my life as it has the last 2 years. But it's been interesting and just so mentally stimulating, and I am really enjoying it. So I couldn't be happier doing this job on council than I am. Yeah,
and we just talked a bit earlier off camera. I mean, it's a full-time job. I mean, a councillor's role and sort of the evening activities and the reading. So a little bit about, just give some context to when they say full-time job, what does that mean?
In theory, the job, they say technically is a part-time job, but it's not. There's a lot of time that you put in to attending events around the city and you know, preparing for meetings, and there's a lot of reading to be done and a lot of research on your own time. Our city staff do a great job at helping, you know, answer questions, but a lot of times if you want to dig really deep into an issue or find out where people stand on it, you know, it's on you to sort of connect with those folks and learn what their perspective is. So it is a really time-consuming job, and I'm certainly not complaining, but I think it's a lot more than what council is paid for, time-wise, and you know, it's a good thing for people to know.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of volunteer in the paid position.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The thing we saw you the first time. Well, I saw you the first time when you were sort of running for election. You did that 1 minute power minute with Tri-Cities.
Right.
In that, you talked about the environment. Can you just talk about what you thought? You know, obviously the reason for running, and then what you've sort of found out in that process over the last couple of years. Right.
So I have, I guess, a bit of a background volunteering over the last decade or so in the community with different environmental groups, and you know, I've learned a lot about wonderful things like wild salmon, and I've grown to appreciate all the parks and trails and green spaces that we have. I spend a lot of time in them and biking around the community and hiking and enjoying them with my family, and it inspired me to want to run for council. I just think we are so fortunate, bordered by 3 rivers, and all the green space and parks that we have are wonderful. We really compare glowingly to other communities, I think, in the way that we have built up this wonderful natural infrastructure. And so I was inspired to fight to keep those things, and so that's why I come across as a bit of a park defender and someone who wants to put a high priority on, you know, our salmon-bearing creeks and clean water and clean air and good agricultural land to grow our food, and those are important things for our community as we plan into the future.
So a couple things is the Maple Creek. I mean, that's a pretty hot topic within
Yes.
Port Coquitlam with the DFO and their ruling. So
yes.
You talked about those spawning salmons. I know, can you help explain to some of the citizens of Port Coquitlam how, you know, a federal body is basically controlling their river systems? And
right. So we are so fortunate in this community to have this, because there's a lot of municipalities in Metro Vancouver that no longer have salmon-bearing creeks in them, and there are some, like in Burnaby, that are bringing them back, but a lot of them have been paved over, and we're so fortunate in Port Coquitlam to have some of our creeks still have salmon-bearing aspect to them. But we have a development proposal on the other side of Poco, on the north side, and there are some people who want to move Maple Creek, and just I guess, you know, a development proposal to build a big home on a property, and you know, part of a tributary of Maple Creek is running through their yard, and they want to be able to move that. And so we were disappointed to hear that DFO has approved that that creek be moved, but there still is the hurdle for the city to give their approval of that development proposal. And there has been some dialogue between council, but there's also been a lot of letters to mayor and council about this. I can't say there's anything I've heard more from the community about than this issue. So it's something that really resonates to people in the community, and I, for one, will proudly take a stand on the fact that I think that Poco's done a good job in the past, and I hope we will continue to balance these wonderful environmental values that we have in the community. Once again, salmon-bearing creeks, we don't want to lose those. This is important balance, and I think it gives us good quality of life and makes our community special.
So that being said, you know, I always believe municipal politics, you know, it's really your backyard, and it's the way to make the greatest change as a member of council or as a citizen. So back to the Maple Creek aspect. So what is the city looking to implement so that this sort of change doesn't come as a surprise next time? And then I guess in what way can we take control of that sort of not happening again, or managing the present situation?
I'm not sure what the solutions are to keep a watch out for situations like this in terms of process. I don't know if I can properly answer that question, but I do know that city staff are doing a great job at bringing these things forward to council that they know might be a bit of an issue in the community. And so I think I'm grateful to our city staff for that they have brought this forward to us, so that it wasn't another one of those development proposals that sort of just flew below the radar and was approved and is now done. So I think we keeping the monitoring that staff do, I think serves us well, and hopefully will into the future. But beyond that, I'm not sure there's any part of the process that we can change. I'm open to the idea of learning more about it, but yeah. I'm not sure at this point.
Well, I guess one of the things I was going to try and touch on is, like, you know, when you weren't a councillor, you were obviously involved in sort of environmental groups. So I guess in a sense, like the watchdog, you know, part of this too is that those environmental groups, you know, like Riverview Lands or Minnetonka, you know, or the creeks, stream keepers. I mean, that really is part of, I guess, citizen action. Absolutely. To engage then their councillors to be sure that they're on the right path. Absolutely,
and I am grateful for those people that are engaged in their communities, because they do an awful lot of work for the city. You know, you think of the amount of groups out there that battle invasive weeds in our parks and things like that, and you know, this is important work that a lot of man hours are being given to the city by volunteers, and we're very grateful for those, because they ultimately make our community a more sustainable and better place.
So a couple of things. One would be I guess we're looking at the downtown improvement plan or action plan. I'm not the official term, but could you give someone a quick update of what's happening in the downtown core from a council perspective, and what the citizens may see in the near future? Right.
So there's a lot of talk, of course, with council about the plans for the downtown core and the changes that we are seeing. Of course, the planning of our exciting rec center and the facilities that are going to be in and around that give us a really good opportunity to look at the big picture of the dynamic of our downtown core. And you know, the recent fire and the fire that we had last year was unfortunate. Lots of loss for businesses and a terrible thing to happen in the community, but it's really cool to see how the community comes together to support each other and move forward with rebuilding, and perhaps some of these terrible things that have happened in Poco can be a bit of an opportunity as we work to increase the walkability of our downtown and make sure we have good diversity of businesses and land use, and make our downtown really vibrant and exciting and something to be proud of.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I mean, I agree with you with the rec center, the concept of walking from there to downtown. So when you see the downtown improvement plan, is that really development, as in buildings and high rises, or is that really just a different approach to the downtown?
I think it's not just about development. I think the city's doing a really good job at engaging with stakeholders and asking finding out about all the aspects of the building of the downtown. It's not just about the development or the businesses or any one aspect. It's about kind of putting a holistic perspective on it and looking at the big picture of what we want for our downtown core.
So next topic is the cultural plan. It's taken us a few years to get a culture plan.
Yes.
Everybody wants a plan of culture.
Yes.
We have one, which is
We
great.
do.
I guess there's a launch coming up. Could you tell us a little bit about the culture plan, the launch, and what that means to you?
It's been a very exciting project that the city has undertaken, and it's finally just sort of come to fruition. So we've got a lot of ideas from the community, and we have a lot of great facilities, such as the one we're in, to move us forward with really, I guess, highlighting and celebrating the art community that we have here in Port Coquitlam, and maybe trying to round ourselves out a bit more in terms of who we are culturally and our arts. So I think it's something that we have a real good direction now. This has given us that direction, and I think now we get to roll up our sleeves and get into the hard work of moving it forward and making sure that we are thoughtful at planning to really highlight that part of our community.
And I guess a big part of the culture plan is festivals or those kind of things, or events. I mean,
Right.
we had the Grand Prix
Right.
just came through. We have the car show and all these
Right.
kind of things. So I guess that's the sense of turning the downtown into a place to go
Right.
to celebrate, you know, the cultures of the diversity within the city, but at the same time help businesses and
Right.
bring life back. You know, not back, but to add more life to the downtown.
Well, these are such good opportunities. Things like our car show and the Grand Prix and all the festivals that we have are great for bringing people into our community, and then it gives them the chance to see what we have for businesses and what we have, you know, for opportunities in our city, and it will help, I think, put Port Coquitlam a bit more on the map, so that people don't just think we're a part of one of the other Tri-Cities, and we you know, we stand on our own.
So I guess going to talk about transit for a bit, because I know that was one of the things you talked about, being a transit advocate.
Yes.
Evergreen Line is about to be done, and it just is, some people in our city would say, you know, Port Moody got their transit,
Right.
Coquitlam got their transit, we got a whole bunch of extra buses going to that transit station at Evergreen. So just
Right.
your how would you explain to the people of Port Coquitlam why we just get buses and we don't, the
Right.
line didn't go all the way down the road to closer to us?
Make no mistake, I'm a huge advocate for better transit. I think it's something that's another thing that inspired me to run for council, because I would have to say I do think we are a bit underserved. I've taken buses a lot in the community and tried to get around for council work, and when I prior was going to Douglas College, and it's not easy to get around when you live in Port Coquitlam on transit and metro. So I feel for people, but it is a double-edged sword a bit. We're happy that we have transit close in Coquitlam, but it also brings a different element to the community. There's a lot of, I guess, gentrification around the area of the Evergreen Line, which makes housing costs rise, and it can be a bit of a problem. But we certainly do want more transit, and I will always advocate for more and better transit, and hope that TransLink might be listening and maybe give us a bit more of a consideration when it comes to looking at communities.
So a couple questions just before we wrap up. One is there any issue you think is important to the citizens of Port Coquitlam now that you've been in council for a couple of years, which is not on the traditional radar that we just talked about?
Well, I just want to mention to folks that I think, you know, we have such a wonderful place in Port Coquitlam, and that we have to fight to keep it that way. So we have to be thoughtful as we plan our downtown, and we protect the important things that are wonderful about our community, that we be thoughtful, and that we look at our community as a big picture, and it's not just little chunks here and there of what are pieces, but the big picture of a community, and we all be supportive and work together to make it better.
And the last question, totally non-political, something interesting about yourself that no one would know about?
Oh boy, no one would know about. Well, you know what, I guess not that no one would know about. I really, really love the outdoors. I'm addicted to hiking and biking, and that's why I live in Port Coquitlam, because we are so fortunate to have what we have, and I guess maybe a lot of people don't know that about me, some do, but that would be the thing I would think maybe folks don't know.
Well, it's better than beer, because that's mine. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We've had Councillor Laura Dupont on the Tri-Cities Community Television. We look forward to bringing her back in the studio a few more months from now, and maybe we can talk more about Coast Meridian traffic maybe the development in a low heat area with those 25 beautiful towers. This is Petra Markova reporting for Tri-Cities Community Television. Thank you very much.